Hi everybody and welcome back yet again to a drum playthrough review. Thanks for tuning in and stopping by. For everybody who's brand new, hello, my name is Nick. We play drums in a technical death metal band, and we play guitar and bass and other instruments as well. And we like to watch these videos so that way we can take the advice and take the technique from people who are a lot better than us and internalize that and make ourselves better drummers overall and better musicians in general. So today we're reviewing a legendary drummer. He's not even a metal drummer or anything like that. He's just absolutely legendary. He's someone that I found out about a long time ago, and I've had nothing but respect for ever since I found him. This guy's name is Dennis Chambers. He's played with a lot of different jazz bands, a lot of different R&B bands and all that back in the day, fusion bands, you name it, he's played a whole bunch of these different places. And this guy is honestly somebody whose technique is insanely good. He's had almost 50 plus years of experience behind his belt, and he has utilized that to his fullest capacity. This man's got chops that are unbelievably good, unbelievably tasty, and he's taken rudiments far beyond what anyone else could have imagined. All right. Yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into this playthrough. So, this is going to be sick and exciting, and I am super stoked. I don't know the name of the song that he's playing, but I know it's going to be pretty fun. Let's turn closed captioning off. I'll edit too in here. I'll put what the song title is. But this is another drummer where if we're talking about pocket, I know we've talked about Jonathan Moffat before, and as far as like how he's very involved in the pocket, and that's very important. This is another guy where he's very much involved in being in the pocket, but also not letting that stop him from being able to do fun stuff. Look at him. He's having absolute fun while he's playing that. And look at him. He's doing just great. You can tell, too, that he's buried in the metronome in his mind. He's not letting anything break his concentration from that. He's trying to stay as focused as he possibly can be. And he's adding in all these ghost notes. He's making sure this stuff feels good. Look at that, that's just tasteful. Because it's fast, it's tasteful, and it stays within the groove. It's very experimental. And he's got a big old, what is that, a gong drum? Yeah. It's basically what a gong drum is it's basically something that's like the size of another bass drum, but it doesn't have a bottom to it. It sounds really huge. Look at him. He's just chilling. He's using a lot of swing patterns, it looks like, on his hi-hat. And this is common in jazz. Yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job here. He's making sure definitely that he's complementing the groove that's going on behind him while also adding a whole bunch of different stuff in and keeping everybody in time all at the same time. Also adding in that little extra bit on the gong drum there's just for some flavor. You'll notice too, especially for a jazz drummer, he's holding it matched grip, which isn't really super common. It's not really super common. A lot of jazz drummers, oh my god, really? Alright, there's a jump there because there was an ad and I'm too lazy to just retake the video. But a lot of drummers, what was I saying? A lot of drummers like to use, if they're playing jazz or anything like that, they like to use the traditional grip where you have the one stick that's matched here and then they're holding the other stick this way. I'll get my drumsticks later and demonstrate that. His hi-hat looks like it's been flared out at the edges. Yeah, he's just grooving out, man. Well, you'll notice he's keeping his one foot to keep time on the hi-hat, while his bass drum and all the other limbs are all independent. They're all doing something different. So this man has absolutely mastered his rhythm independence with all of his hands and all of his appendages, while keeping time on the hands. And look at him, just looking back at the camera too, being like, "You catching this? Because I'm good." And he's adding those toms in the groove as well for some flavor, which I love that. One of my first ever drum teachers was a jazz drummer. Ooh, look at that. Switched up the time, bro. Now we get into chops. See, this is what metric modulation is all about, dude. Look at him. This is just fantastic. He switches in and out between those. See, another little metric modulation part right there. He switches in and out between those gig grips, it looks like. Alright, it's gonna fade out in a second. Wow. That is fantastic. Man, you gotta love Dennis Chambers for what he does, man. That guy brings so much life to his drumming. Absolutely fun watching that man just blast through chops, blast through the groove and the rhythm, while keeping it all on time and in the pocket. There's very few drummers that are actually able to do what Dennis Chambers does, and that is keep everything really nice and smooth. A lot of drummers nowadays, especially when it comes to the pocket or anything like that, it's very linear. It's very centrally focused. This man is using swing patterns, and this man is breaking things down, and he's using a lot of different chops and metric modulation in order to bring extra life into his drumming, in order to actually bring more life and more of a voice to the song that you probably wouldn't have heard before if you were just doing like a straight linear groove. One thing that I think a lot of drummers nowadays especially, they don't really take into consideration is they can't really pull off what Dennis Chambers can do, and that is keep things real nice and smooth and really, really swing it. A lot of drummers nowadays like to keep their grooves very straightforward. It's very much just like one type of beat, and then they switch it up to another type of beat. What Dennis Chambers, you notice he does is he switches things up, and he does very smooth transitions between his beats. He does things in a very tasteful way. A lot of the stuff that he does is very involved with keeping in the pocket, also switching out between odd time signatures, and also using a lot of metric modulation. It's very progressive, and it's a lot of advanced stuff to use. But because he's been playing for so long, he can utilize all this to his advantage. Now, what are some things that you can do to help improve your drumming and get a lot more like Dennis Chambers? The first thing that you can do is start slow. That is the most famous thing that you can do. That is the best thing that you can do, is to start slow. There hasn't been a drummer that has really pushed the boundaries of anything just by trying to go right into it and be absolutely fast. You've got to start out slow to build that muscle memory and to build that timing and to build that into your system, so that way when you speed up the tempo, it's like nothing to you. And so that way when you move on to more challenging things, it's a whole lot easier to deal with. That's definitely something that's very helpful. The other thing that you'll notice that Dennis Chambers does as well is he utilizes his ghost notes absolutely perfectly. And what this does is this changes up the feel of the song, and it gives a lot of extra space in the drums that would otherwise be left out there, filled in by these ghost notes. And this is something that I feel like a lot of metal drummers do leave out a lot, and I'm seeing it start to creep in more, and I find that to be great. The problem that I see is that a lot of these metal drummers out there, they really don't fill in all the little spaces and all that, and it kind of leaves things feeling a little bit thin. A lot of times you'll see drummers who are just going like da da pa da 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 pa, when there's a whole lot of space that's in between your snare hits and your backbeats that you could fill in with a bunch of extra stuff, and it would make things sound just a little bit more full and a little bit more exciting. It keeps things from getting bland, and Dennis Chambers does this in a very efficient and beautiful manner. So definitely a couple things to take into consideration: practicing all your stuff slow, practicing metric modulation, time signature switches and all that, practicing your transitions, practicing your ghost notes, and also something that he does that is absolutely great: limb independence. He's keeping each one of his appendages and each one of his limbs moving and freely independent from one another. Each one is playing a completely separate rhythm, and each one is still in lock and in key with each other and combined in a perfect way. So that way it creates something something that is just absolutely beautiful, a beautiful concoction. And all this can only be achieved if you do practice it slow and start out slow. And then slowly, once you've become more comfortable with it, build up so that way you can become a whole lot better at what you do. So what are the main takeaways for this video? Practice slow. Start out with everything slower tempos and then gradually get it up there once you start to master it and build that into your muscle memory. Experiment. Try filling in those little gaps and little spaces in between your backbeats with some ghost notes and stuff like that to help give some more life to your drums, to give in a little bit more of a funky vibe and a little bit more of a different feel. Try not to keep things so straightforward. Goof around a little bit. Have some fun. Trying to see what you can get away with. Trying to see what you can do, how you can take it to the next level. That's ultimately how you can progress as a musician. Have fun with your instrument. Goof around. Don't take yourself too seriously. With all that being said, guys, we're going to cut the video here. Excellent job on Dennis Chambers' part. Let me know what you thought of his playthrough down in the comments below. And now here's a few things you guys can do to support me. So for one, you can always like, subscribe, share, comment on the video. I'd really appreciate that. You can always check out the playlist that I got down below. I'd really appreciate that as well. There's a lot of content that's similar to this video, so if you like this video, I'm sure you'll like the other stuff I got as well. And you can always check out the links that I got down below. That's linked to my band Spotify, and we got new songs that are coming out, so that'd be really appreciated if you could check that out for me. And with all that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for stopping by, and hopefully I will see y'all in my next video. So cheers, everyone. Have a good one.